Okay, so this next piece is working with percentiles. So understanding how much data is in certain parts of this curve. Okay, so let's go straight to our cheat sheet here. And this is what we're going to write on our cheat sheet. Percentages under the curve. So I'm going to write this on my cheat sheet. And here's the buttons. I'm going to push the distribution button on my calculator. And then I'm going to be doing this feature called normal CDF. So distribute button, normal CDF is the step. And it's going to go like this. You're going to have to type in 4 things. The most left, comma, the most right, comma, mean, comma, standard deviation. I'm going to star myself a note. If it's a z-score, the mean of a z-score is 0 in the middle. And the standard deviation with z-scores is 1. Always with z-scores. I'm also going to note negative infinity. We talk about that with our domain. My calculator doesn't have a negative infinity button. So I'm just going to go negative 99999. And infinity, I'm just going to go with a 99999. Okay, you can put as many 9s on that as you want. Okay, so that's on my cheat sheet. So let's see what it means. Okay, what percent of the data is below a z-score of negative 1.96? So I have it drawn here for you. So this is what I'd be talking about. Negative 1.96 is here. I want to know what percent is below that. Okay, so here we go. Distribute button is right here. So I'm going to go second vars. Okay. Now we said the normal CDF. So go down to number 2, enter. What's the most left this goes? In a domain, thinking about, last time we talked about domain on parabolas, what's the domain? How much left are we? Negative infinity. So negative 99999, comma. What's the most we go to the right before we stop? Negative 1.96, comma, the mean, what's the mean right in the middle? 0, comma, what's the standard deviation of z-scores? 1. Enter. After you, I'll close the bracket, enter. Okay, I'm going to go times 100 just to make it a percent. So there's 2.5% of the data is below that? Remember our numbers before? We knew like 68% was between here. We've been talking about that. Okay, all this extra stuff is, my grade 12s have to do it by hand, and they have to do all this stuff and figure out this chart. We're gonna do it straight, just the calculator method. Okay, here's the next question. How much data is above 1.15? So 0 is in the middle. 1.15 would be here. So my question is, how much percent is above it? Okay, so here's my buttons. Distribution. Number 2, the normal CDF. Okay, what's the left? What's the most left I am? 1.15. To what am I doing to the right? How much right am I going? I'm going to infinity. It's all above. So, comma, 9999999, comma. What's the middle? What's the mean? 0, comma, what's the standard? 1. And then I'm going to just times by 100 quickly. So 12.5% of the data is above that. Okay. I'm going to skip those examples and come back to them later. So I'm going to go to this one here. We have a mean of 160, a standard deviation of 4.2. What percent is above 150? So here is the mean. There's the mean of 160. 150 would be below it. 150 is below the mean. But I want to know how much data is above it. So there's going to be quite a bit of data above it. It's definitely over 50%. Okay, so distribution. Normal CDF. Looking at this, what's the left? The most left is 150, comma. The most right, forever, forever, forever. So 9999999, comma. This is different. What's the mean? I have a mean of 160, comma, standard 4.2. Times 100. So 99.1% of the data is above that. All right, one more example, and then I'll let you try some. Okay, we have a mean of 128, standard deviation of 1.9, This time we want to know what's the data between 125 and 130. Okay, so on a drawing scale, 128 is in the middle. 125 would be below it. 130 would be above it. And this is saying what data is between okay, so my calculator will do it for me. Distribution, normal CDF. What's the left side? 125, comma, the most right we ever go. 130 is the right. I stop at that. The mean, 128, and the standard deviation is 1.9. And then I just times it by 100 as a percent thing. So 79.7% of the data. Whoops, I said it and wrote it differently. 79.7% of the data is between there.